I think it's fine to throw people who burn the American flag in jail. I have no problem with it at all. If you're in the United States, you burn our symbols. And by the way, this has only been since 1989 that this has been a law. Only since 1989. Almost every state had laws against this. Why? Because they considered it incitement.
So I would never burn an American flag. I think it's the dumbest thing in the world. It bothers me viscerally. But are you allowed to burn one? Yes, of course you are, because that's part of what's great about this country. You have freedom of speech.
In this video, Andrew Wilson melts down after Cenk Uygur embarrasses him on live TV. So Andrew tries to sound tough here, claiming it's totally fine to jail people for burning the American flag, like that does everything to protect the country. But Cenk just isn't having it. He calls the whole idea out as fundamentally un-American, straight up saying you have to protect speech, even when it makes you uncomfortable. And honestly, he's right. That's what separates free societies from authoritarian ones. And it only gets worse from here. So make sure to watch to the end to see how Andrew Wilson melts down after Cenk Uygur embarrasses him on live TV.
But our freedom of speech is being taken away. There is one particular case where it is super aggressive, and that's if you criticize Israel. If you criticize Israel on a college campus, you'll be arrested by masked men and whisked away. And there's threats of taking your diploma away, never being able to get a job, arrested, denaturalized, deported. If you criticize Israel in America, you're in a world of trouble, and in a lot of other countries. So if you want to talk about abuse of free speech, there is one giant abuser, and that is Israel and all the politicians that they buy in all the Western countries, and especially America.
Okay, let's go to our second.
He's right about that. It is atrocious that there's even a proposed legislation that if you burn the Israeli flag, you can go to jail. Has nothing to do with American symbolism. Has nothing to do with our flag. We have the Stars and Stripes, which men have died and bled for hundreds of years. Immigrants don't get to come here, many times illegally, and burn it on the cameras as part of a demoralizing system for the public. To hell with that. We don't have to allow that at all.
You don't have to allow it, but Andrew, I would say this.
Shouldn't.
But Andrew, I would say this. You know, a lot of my family served in the UK armed forces in warfare, including in World War II, and they fought for the freedom of people to actually exercise their right to free speech and expression, even if it's very offensive to other people. I mean, isn't that the point of fighting for freedom?
Well, no offense,
you
Pierce,
are
but I
allowed,
don't believe...
you are allowed to then express yourself in ways that other people find offensive.
No offense, Pierce, but I don't think a single one of your family members fought for the right of people to burn your nation's flag that they were fighting
Actually,
for.
I think they did.
For a second.
I would say
more
they
than I
did.
believe that my countrymen and my family members were fighting in wars so that we could have more gay butt sex and more freedom to go and make sure that we can have gay pride parades. I don't believe it for a second. I don't believe they were fighting for trans rights. I don't believe it.
No,
I don't
you're
believe
missing
any
the
of your
point.
countrymen stormed Germany for trans rights. And
They
for
were
flag
fighting.
burning.
They were fighting.
Nonsense.
Yeah, but Andrew, they were fighting for the freedom for people to have the freedom to live their lives as they want to lead them. I mean, isn't that the whole point of the World War II?
So Andrew actually agrees with Cenk for a split second about the crackdown on speech around Israel. Like, even he admits it's atrocious that you could face jail just for burning an Israeli flag. But instead of sticking to that solid free speech point, he just immediately goes full-on culture war mode. Suddenly it's about immigrants burning flags and demoralization. And then Piers, who's been mostly just sitting back, steps in with a totally reasonable argument. His point is that people fought in wars to protect the right to express opinions, even if it makes others uncomfortable. That's literally the foundation of Western freedom. But Andrew just can't handle that. He just spirals instantly, snapping back with his unhinged rant about how soldiers weren't fighting for gay butt sex or trans rights. Like, what? It's just a bizarre, unnecessary meltdown that reveals more about his own insecurities other than any actual principle. It's wild because Andrew just briefly agreed with Cenk, but just suddenly just flips the whole thing around for no reason.
Is it's like
Defeated the Nazis. The Nazis wanted us all to behave a certain way.
But
we decided as a world we're not going to accept it.
but you have to have freedom from the very oppression of the people who are now invading your nation and taking it over, destroying the very things that these people fought for under those symbols.
It's a
you
very
don't have to
powerful
allow
point.
it.
Are the Germans invading America?
No, but Andrew's making
what's going on?
Andrew's making a very powerful point. The people who've come to the United States, people who've come to the United Kingdom, are using the very freedoms that we've granted them effectively to mount an attack on the United Kingdom and the United States. That's what's happening. We have a very delicate, fragile, advanced form of a constitution, a democratic
Through
demoralization,
demoralization, invasion, and abuse of laws, Cenk. It's obvious how. It's so obvious how. How can you not
it's
see
not
it?
at all obvious. You're just making that up.
Well, do you want me to walk you
You're
through
making
it step
it
by
up.
step? How I just watched in California, huge amounts of Hispanics, many of whom were illegal, burning our very symbols, doing it they had a flag which was a combination of the Mexican flag and the American flag. They made it themselves just to do anything it could to shit on our symbols, Cenk. It has been a total invasion here and in the UK, and you're full of shit.
No, this whole talk of invasion is nonsense. Okay, then let's flip it on its head. How about the invasion of the Mayflower and the Puritans who invaded the Native American land here? Look, I'm not making that point. You're making that point.
So you're making a right to conquer
argument. You're talking about like every wave
So
of
that would be my
immigrants.
argument,
So hold
Cenk.
on. Let me make the point. So,
right,
so then the wave of Italians and Irish that came, it's an invasion. Wave of Jews that came, it's an invasion. Muslims, invasion. Every time there's immigrants, I don't know about the UK, and UK is not my business. The United States is about freedom, and it's a country built on immigrants. And originally,
if any of those immigrants, like the Irish and the Italians, came over here and burned the flag, they would have gone to jail. They would have gone to jail, Cenk.
And then all across the world, and Chinese, and they've all made incredible contributions to America, and that is why America is stronger than all other nations, because we take the best of the best from the whole world, and they come here for our freedom. So I love those freedoms. I love America.
These are the best of the best of people who are coming here now.
The whole point of that flag is equality and justice. They don't come here for some sort of weirdo white state that you're in favor of.
They burn it. What do you mean? They're burning it. And by the way, the Italians and the Irish
you say they. The great majority of it. No, you're talking about
flag.
No, this is nonsense.
They should get a
Utter
room.
It's not nonsense.
No, you're
yeah,
talking
it's not
about two
nonsense.
people
You're
on
full of
TV. We're talking about millions of immigrants who love this country.
The idea that every immigrant in America is out there burning flags is preposterous.
So Andrew just completely loses the plot here. He tries to twist World War II into this weird narrative about modern invasion by immigrants, claiming people today are destroying the very things soldiers fought for. But what is he even talking about? It's just this jumbled mess of culture war buzzwords, demoralization, law abuse, and of course, blaming Hispanics in California for burning flags. It's just straight up paranoid fantasy dressed up as patriotism. And Cenk just cuts through it perfectly. He flips Andrew's invasion narrative on its head with brutal simplicity. If you want to play the invasion game, start with the Mayflower. That alone kills the argument. But it keeps going, listing Italians, Irish, Jews, Muslims, Chinese, showing how immigrants built the country, not tore it down. And when Andrew tries to paint them all as flag burners, Cenk doesn't even flinch. He calls it what it is, nonsense. It's projection masked as nationalism. And man, even Piers, who just usually sits on the fence, finally cuts in and calls it out. The idea that millions of immigrants are out here burning flags is just ridiculous. It's fear-mongering, plain and simple. Andrew just wants to sound like a defender of tradition, but he's just weaponizing fake outrage to justify silencing people he doesn't like. That's not patriotism. That's just straight-up projection.
Maybe some folks on here disagree with trans activists 95% or 200%. I disagree with them about 5% about professional sports. And nevertheless, I've been attacked just as viciously as anyone on this panel. So I get it, guys. I get that trans activists sometimes drive people away. First of all, they don't represent all trans people. Second of all, the bigger problem to me is the hatred that trans people are getting that is irrational. So this guy, when he does the tweets about the smelling and the homophobia and misogyny and all that stuff, I don't care. Those are just his opinions, and no one should ever be punished for their opinions, even if they're terribly obnoxious, right? When he gets into, hey, if you see a trans person in the wrong place, start screaming about them and maybe physically assault them, that depends on the laws in the UK. But if you're threatening violence like that in general, yeah, it might be something the cops should talk to you about. And having nothing to do with your opinions about trans people or anything else, it's just that you're threatening violence. And then this other guy, the dude with the beard here, I mean, okay, so this is a common thing that the extreme right does. Okay, in my mind, there is no such thing as feeling like a woman. And I agree, I don't have that in my mind either. That doesn't mean that other people don't. I don't know why that's such a hard thing for folks to understand. So you weren't born that way, but they were. You think they're just all lying? And why would they be lying? And this whole thing of calling people who don't think like you mentally ill is actually super stupid. It's literally unintelligent, okay? So people think in different ways. They have different proclivities, including sexual proclivities and gender proclivities. If you can't understand that simple concept and you think anyone who doesn't think like me is mentally ill, there's actually something profoundly wrong with you.
All right, Andrew
Well,
Wilson, there's something profoundly wrong with you.
Yeah, sure. Well, nobody said what was articulated to you was something which is
Yeah, it's
pure
actually
logic,
kind of exactly
which-
what you said.
Well, yeah, what was articulated to you
logic.
was pure logic. Pure logic, and I'll explain the pure logic. You have no comparison to make as a male for what a female does even feel like. That's how we know it's a mental illness, Cenk. It's really simple. It's the law of identity. I hope that you know what logic is, because that's what that is. It's the law of identity. You can't make a comparison for what it is to feel like a female, Cenk. It's not possible because you're not one. That's how that works. Stop trying to gaslight me. Stop trying to pretend that I don't know what a male is, what a female is. Stop trying to pretend that I don't know what mental illness is. The mark of mental illness is irregularities in behavior. That's how you know what it is, Cenk. How else would you even know?
Cenk?
So, okay, that doesn't make any sense at all, and it defies logic completely. So, first of all, you say, how would I know what's inside their heads? That's my point to you, brother. It just seems like you have trouble understanding simple
My question
rational
to you is,
reasoning,
how can you
which
make
is,
a
how would you
comparison?
know what's in a trans person's head? You don't know what's in their head. Instead, what you're doing is a simple concept called projection. Hey, since I feel this way, you should feel this way. And then you start talking about irregularities. No, there's a difference between, hey, someone is detached from reality and is committing violence. Okay, that's a mental illness, regardless of what their background is, right? But when you say irregularities in general, what is regular? And let me guess, you're going to claim that whatever you think is regular and everything else is mentally ill.
It's
and then you
defined.
call that
how could
logic?
you- hang
No,
on,
it's
hang
the
on. How
last
could you
thing
ever-
from logic.
And wrapping us up, Cenk didn't just push back. He tore apart the whole hollow logic Andrew tried to hide behind. Throwing around terms like law of identity doesn't turn fear into truth. And labeling people mentally ill just for thinking differently isn't a moral stand, it's a deflection. Andrew wasn't offering reason. He was offering projection masked as logic. He was offering projection masked as logic and backed by nothing but discomfort. Cenk held the line, called it out, and exposed how weak it all really is when stripped of the buzzwords. Bias isn't just in what you say, it's in what you pretend not to understand here. And speaking of bias, are you getting tired of getting news from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite? How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, whether it's left, right, or center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get a 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights in media bias and political trends. So stay informed, think for yourself, and check out ground news in the description down below.